Ilia Topuria made a bold statement. Once again, Islam comes up with an excuse. This time it's an injury. I always knew I would be part of the White House event. Even when UFC said they might not count on me, I knew it was part of the negotiation. Islam got injured, then Justin Gaethje appeared. Once again, someone else paying for Islam's escape. Justin, see you there. It'll be quick. By the time you wake up, it'll already be over. Of course, the response didn't take long. Islam Makhachev said, "We both know who chickened out here. Cover your cowardice with nasty tweets all you want. Don't worry, one day you'll get exactly what you asked for, and your fat-ass manager doesn't need billions to make this fight happen. We'll do it for free. Who do you think is in the right here? And if this fight happens, who would win? Let us know in the comments."
So Islam Makhachev, the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world, has narrowly escaped the perils of Ilia Topuria. That is correct. Apparently Islam was scared. He ran away. He didn't want anything to do with this matchup and made up an injury.
Don't be scared, homie.
That is, of course, according to Ilia Topuria. Now, Ilia Topuria has gone on a crazy Twitter rant, okay? He's gone after Islam Makhachev. To be fair, he's been trying to fight him for quite some time, okay? And Topuria wants to be a part of only the biggest matchups. The man's headline.
Right out of the gate, we're looking at the kind of statement that completely rocks the MMA world. This isn't just some casual call out from Ilia Topuria. This is him going full nuclear on Islam Makhachev, straight up accusing the pound-for-pound champion of being afraid and faking an injury to dodge a fight. We're talking about a direct attack on everything Islam represents as a warrior. When you question someone's courage in this sport, you're hitting them where it hurts most. Topuria's claim that Islam ran away and invented some fake injury carries serious weight, bringing back memories of Conor's legendary "don't be scared, homie" moment. This sets up what could turn into one of the most personal feuds we've seen in years. The big question becomes obvious. Is El Matador playing mind games here, using psychological warfare to mess with Islam's head and force this fight to happen? Or does Topuria actually think Islam is actively running from him because he knows how dangerous this matchup would be? This one accusation sparks everything we're about to break down.
Once again, Islam comes up with an excuse. This time it's an injury. I always knew that I would be a part of the White House event. Even when the UFC told me at one point that they wouldn't count on me for the event, I knew it was a part of the negotiation. When they finally told me that I would be on the White House card, they mentioned Islam. And I did not hesitate for a single second to accept no man alive is gonna deny Islam at the White House event. Anyway, I don't know why that popped in my head. It goes on to say the White House card was going to be announced the next day, and when I woke, I found out that Islam had miraculously gotten injured, and then Justin Gaethje appeared.
Ilia lays out his case like he's presenting evidence in court, creating this timeline that makes Islam's injury look way too convenient. He walks through exactly what happened, starting with being told he might not even make it onto the Sphere card. Then suddenly everything flips and he's being promised a guaranteed spot with Islam specifically mentioned as his opponent. But here's the kicker that Topuria keeps hammering. Right when everything was about to become official, Islam mysteriously gets hurt. Topuria isn't being subtle at all about what he thinks went down. He's saying Islam saw what was coming, got scared, and found a way out. This goes way beyond random trash talk thrown around in interviews. It's a detailed accusation with specific events laid out to build his case that Islam Makhachev is running from the challenge. This puts serious pressure on Islam to explain what really went down behind the scenes when this massive fight opportunity disappeared at the last second.
Someone else will pay for Islam's mistake. Both of their managers is a bitch and also ugly as hell. I don't know why he's got to start going on about Ali Abdelaziz and stuff like that. Justin, I will see you at the White House. I'm not someone who humiliates people. It's gonna be quick. When you wake up, everything will already be over. Now, of course, we know Topuria's got the knockout power. Just talking about that matchup with Justin Gaethje real quick. Listen, that's the fight that should have happened. It's going to happen. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's happening. It's headlining in the White House. And that makes sense. It's the interim champion of the world. Now, talking about this tweet.
Now we get to see how Topuria responds to whatever Islam said back, and he absolutely refuses to hold back anything. He escalates everything by saying someone else will have to pay for Islam's supposed mistake, pointing directly at Justin Gaethje as the guy who'll suffer for it. But then he goes even further by launching really personal attacks against Islam's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, crossing lines that most fighters don't usually cross even when they're trying to sell a fight. This level of personal animosity shows either genuine hatred or calculated aggression taken to an extreme level. By dragging managers into this mess and making comments that honestly made people cringe, Topuria proves he'll do whatever it takes to get inside Islam's head and cement this whole scared and running story in everyone's mind. He's making it obvious that other people will pay the price for Islam's alleged cowardice while positioning himself as the dominant force in this division and beyond. This becomes psychological warfare at its most brutal.
I did think or hear that Ian Gary was going to be the guy. Ian Gary's out in Georgia, as we know, training, I thought, for Islam Makhachev, right? I don't know why Islam Makhachev is not fighting on the White House. That would have been an absolute shoo-in, the perfect fit, one of the biggest stars, add to that fight card, but he's not. And according to Ilia Topuria, it's because he quote-unquote escaped, okay? Now, Islam Makhachev, of course, he's a very proud man. He's not going to let the lightweight champion talk shit like that without coming back.
The confusion rippling through the MMA community tells you everything about how strange this whole situation looks. Think about the optics here. You've got the supposed best fighter on the planet sitting out a massive card when he should be headlining it. Ian Gary's name was floating around as a potential opponent, which would have been solid, but Islam's absence combined with Topuria's escape claims creates this huge question mark that demands answers. If Islam really wasn't injured like Topuria suggests, then this looks absolutely terrible for the champion. It gives major credibility to Topuria's story that Islam is dodging this fight. This moment perfectly shows why Islam needs to come out swinging with a strong public response, because his entire reputation as a fighter is getting attacked. In a sport where your warrior credibility means everything, Islam can't just ignore these accusations and hope they go away.
Ooh, and it's all a case of he said, she said, and we don't know what the real situation is, but I will give my thoughts on it in just a second. Here is Islam's response. He said, "We both know who chickened out here. You can cover your cowardice with nasty tweets, but don't worry, because one day you're going to get what you asked for. And your fat ass manager don't have to ask for billions to fight me. We'll do it for free." So, first question is, do you really think Islam Makhachev is scared of
Islam fires back exactly how you'd expect a champion to respond when someone questions his heart. He flips the chicken accusation right back at Topuria, using the same energy and tactics against him. The crack about the manager situation shows this personal beef is flowing both directions between the camps. But the most important part is Islam saying he'll fight Topuria for free. That's about as strong a statement as you can make when someone calls you scared. When a fighter offers to step in the cage for zero money, that's the ultimate way to prove willingness and completely destroy any narrative about fear or financial excuses stopping the fight. Islam flips the entire script here, suggesting that Topuria's side might actually be the one making excuses and not ready to make this fight happen when it really comes down to it.
I'm going to say no. I will tell you this. I don't think any of these guys are scared. Fighters don't get scared of fighting other men. Yes, on the night before you make the walk, when you're at the curtain and you're about to go out and they go 3, 2, 1 and your music plays and you walk out, there can be some doubts, there can be some intrepidation, there could be some anxiety from winning and losing. You're not scared to fight, okay? They are born to do that. And Ilia Topuria is amazing. Islam Makhachev is amazing, right? So I don't think Islam was scared. Another question is why are the managers?
This takes us deeper into the psychology of what's really happening between these two. There's a huge difference between being scared to fight, which would mean cowardice, and dealing with normal pre-fight nerves that every human experiences. Elite fighters at this level have proven themselves countless times in wars inside the octagon. They're not afraid of physical confrontation. What creates pressure is being at the top with everything to lose, knowing that one bad night could destroy everything you've built. Looking at it this way, Topuria's fear accusations might be more about strategic mind games than actually believing Islam lacks courage. This gives us a much clearer picture of the mental warfare happening here, instead of just taking every word at face value. Understanding this difference changes how we view the whole Islam is scared narrative.
Alki Kawa That is Taporia's manager. He even responded on Twitter. He's like, whoa, damn, bro, I've lost 40 pounds. Why is Ali still calling me fat? And of course, that's a reference to potentially that not even being Islam who wrote that tweet. That would be his manager, Ali Abdelaziz. So maybe one day, Ali and Malky Kawa, they are two of the biggest managers in the MMA space. Of course, Malky manages a lot of big stars, and so does Ali Abdelaziz. Maybe they jump in the ring. Maybe they box like Eddie Hearn and Dana White as opposed to. You know what I'm saying?
The manager drama adds this almost comedic element to an already intense rivalry that's honestly entertaining to watch. Malkakawa's weight loss comment directly responds to whatever Islam or Ali said, showing how public and personal this whole thing has gotten between everyone involved. The idea of managers having their own boxing match shows just how absurd and intense their involvement has become in what should be about the fighters. This goes way beyond just the athletes now, which makes it even more compelling. The managers are throwing their own shots and adding fuel to an already massive fire. It raises the real question of whether these managers are pushing their fighters to be more controversial to create buzz, or if they're just reflecting genuine bad blood between the camps. The line between business strategy and actual personal hatred keeps getting blurred.
Versus Justin Gaethje, okay? Never mind Islam Makhachev. I know that would be a tremendous fight, and we'd all love to see that. And I would like to see them finally settle this beef that kind of Topuria started, just going after Islam. And I get it. That's what you got to do. You got to chat shit. You got to talk big. You got to try and generate hype to get the biggest fights, because you want to get in, make some money, and get out as fast as possible. Like Conor McGregor said back in the day, right?
Get in, get rich, get out.
And Topuria is doing just that. I mean, look at the run.
Behind Topuria's aggressive callouts lies smart business strategy that mirrors Conor McGregor's approach of getting in, getting rich, and getting out. By creating massive hype through controversial statements and targeting the biggest names in the sport, Topuria keeps himself in the spotlight while positioning himself for the most lucrative fights possible. His relentless pursuit of Islam and this scared narrative he keeps pushing is calculated career advancement to secure a super fight that could define his legacy and set him up financially. Regardless of what happens in his current fight with Gaethje, this is a power move to cement his place at the top of the food chain in a sport where your window is relatively short.
Is on. By the way, if he knocks out Justin Gaethje at the White House, that respectfully to Justin Gaethje, there's a good chance that that happens, because the punching power is just different. It really is. And Justin Gaethje got cracked off Paddy Pimblett multiple times. You never know. I'm not counting out Justin. He's going to do a great training camp, and I'm sure he'll come up with a great strategy. But one shot from Ilia Topuria can put you to sleep. Just ask the last few people that he knocked out. Who were they? Well, that would be Justin, if it happens. That would be Charles Oliveira. Absolutely flatlined that guy who looked ridiculous against Max Holloway. Before that, it was Max Holloway, right? Stopped him, made it look kind of easy again. And before...
What makes Topuria's callouts hit different is that he backs up his trash talk with absolutely devastating performances. His knockout power and recent destruction of elite opponents like Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, and Alexander Volkanovski prove he's a legitimate threat to anyone in the sport, including pound-for-pound kings. Topuria isn't just running his mouth without substance behind it. He's supporting every word with brutal finishes that shock the MMA world repeatedly. This gives weight to his Islam is scared claims because they come from proven capability, not some unproven prospect talking nonsense. It adds credibility to his challenge, suggesting Islam would have legitimate reasons to be cautious about facing someone who's been finishing elite competition consistently. When you look at what Topuria has done to some of the best fighters alive, the question shifts from whether Islam is scared to whether Islam is being strategically smart.
Man's punching power is on another level. Can you imagine he knocks out Justin Gaethje as well? What a run. 4 of the biggest names in mixed martial arts, and he knocks them out one after the other, consecutively even, right? Crazy. So anyway, that's the fight that's happening, right? Islam Makhachev, he's got business to do in the welterweight division, and to be fair, Ian Gary should be the next guy. I know there was a bit of talk and a bit of momentum about Kamaru Usman stepping up. Kamaru Usman is a legend.
Looking at Islam's potential future, Ian Gary makes more sense as a next opponent at welterweight than Kamaru Usman, despite Usman's callouts. This actually works against the Islam is scared and running story by showing there's a logical alternative path that isn't about avoiding challenges. If Islam wants a meaningful fight that makes sense for his career, a rising prime welterweight contender like Gary offers more value than a veteran like Usman coming off multiple losses. This reframes Islam's absence from the Topuria fight as strategic exploration of the welterweight division rather than pure avoidance of a dangerous opponent. It shows there are legitimate business and career reasons behind the decisions being made backstage.
Of the sport, and I don't need to tell you about Kamaru Usman. The man's 40 years old, he's on the end of his career, right? Maybe, and he looked really good against Joaquin Buckley last time out. Maybe he has another big fight or two in him, guaranteed, but he doesn't have much left in him. You want people that could potentially take out Islam Makhachev, that can go on and have a long run. Somebody like Ian Gary, that's in his absolute prime and could put together potentially a generational run, right? You don't necessarily want to get Islam Makhachev, one of the biggest stars in the sport, beaten off Kamaru Usman, who might actually decide to retire and walk away from the sport. Of course, for Usman, that would be sense.
The UFC's interest in building future stars explains why Ian Gary makes more business sense than Kamaru Usman for Islam's next fight. While beating Usman would be impressive from a legacy standpoint, given his incredible championship run, it wouldn't offer the same long-term promotional value as defeating a young, hungry contender like Gary, who could be a star for the next decade. This matchmaking logic argues against Islam being scared of Topuria by showing other important considerations at play. It suggests Islam and the UFC are making decisions based on career trajectory, business opportunities, and long-term planning rather than fear of any particular opponent. This perspective provides a strong counter to Topuria's accusations, presenting rational explanations for Islam's next moves that have nothing to do with being afraid.
And Islam Makhachev were in the same room together, okay? I don't think they would go at one another. I think they carry themselves with a certain level of class and respect that they wouldn't do that. They're not thugs. They're not going to throw down. This isn't going to be like, I don't know, who's going to catch a stray here? Jamal Hill, right? No, not Jamal, because he was with Alex Pereira at the Performance Institute, right? And they didn't get into it, okay? But there has been fighters along the way. Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, people like that. They aren't going to do that. They carry themselves with a lot of class and respect, as I said, and they have a certain regard for themselves. They're not going to roll around in the street.
Despite all the fierce trash talk and fear accusations, both fighters carry themselves with too much class and professionalism to take this to the streets. Islam's offer to fight for free shows genuine anger and willingness to prove himself, but both men understand the boundaries between promotion and real life. The scared narrative is part of the business game, a tactic to generate excitement and interest, not an indication that respect has completely broken down or that actual violence might happen outside sanctioned competition. Behind all the heated words, there's still a fighter's code and mutual respect for the sport that keeps things focused where they belong, in the octagon under the lights. These are professionals who understand the business side.
He's going next level. He is going fully scorched earth on Islam Makhachev, which is weird because he's got to fight with Justin Gaethje. So Topuria is already trying to set up the next matchup, which I guess is what you should be trying to do, right? You want to have your next opponent in mind. Ilia Topuria, I don't know what he's getting paid for the White House card. I am sure it is a lot of money. But let me ask you, who wins between Justin and Topuria?
Even with a massive fight against Justin Gaethje coming up, which would be career-defining for most fighters, Topuria is already laying groundwork for his next mega bout against Islam. His aggressive approach to callouts isn't random or emotional. It's calculated strategy to maintain momentum in public conversation and ensure he's constantly in discussion for the biggest fights and paydays available. This explains his relentless pushing of the Islam is scared and running narrative in every interview and media appearance. It's designed to force Islam's hand, make it impossible to ignore him, and secure a legacy-defining matchup that could cement his place in MMA history. This shows Topuria's focus on the ultimate prize beyond just his immediate opponent, thinking several moves ahead like he's playing chess.
Probably Topuria. Who wins between Islam and Topuria though? That's a different kettle of fish. There is weight classes for a reason, and of course Topuria He wants to be a 3-weight division champion, just like Alex Pereira is getting the opportunity to be, right? Alex Pereira, if he beats Cyril Gane, and that's a big if, would be the first ever 3-weight division champ. Granted, one of them would be interim, but regardless, a 3-weight division champion. Would that make him the most successful fighter in UFC history?
Weight class differences add a crucial factor that often gets overlooked in these cross-divisional superfight discussions. This reminds us why a Topuria-Makhachev bout would be completely different from fighting within your natural division. Topuria's goal of becoming a 3-weight champion, potentially matching Alex Pereira's incredible achievement of conquering multiple divisions, makes his call out of Islam even more impressive and audacious. This isn't just a clash of styles between elite fighters, but a significant physical challenge across divisions involving weight changes, adjusting to different body sizes, and dealing with strength differences. While Topuria's scared accusations might be primarily promotional tools to generate interest and force the fight, the real difficulties of moving up in weight and facing a naturally bigger fighter provide legitimate reasons for Islam to carefully consider such a super fight rather than rushing into it. This reframes everything as tactical challenge rather than cowardice, showing that sometimes what looks like fear is actually strategic thinking about maximizing success while protecting your legacy.